Welcome. Today we're doing a deep dive into one of the strangest and most enduring mysteries of the entire Apollo program, the unexplained moon music.
It's a fantastic story. It's this incredible paradox where, during the early missions, astronauts flying around the far side of the moon, dark side, heard this structured, almost electronic signal.
And that's the core conflict, right? The physics of it. They were in literally the one place where they should have heard absolute, complete nothing.
Precisely. The signal they described was strange, musical, even metallic. And it was coming from a region where any communication with Earth is completely blocked.
So this event gets recorded. It's noted in the transcripts.
Yeah.
And then it just, vanishes?
It gets buried. NASA archived the event, sure, but they kept the full audio recording hidden from the public for decades, and that created this mystery that's now lasted for over half a century.
Exactly. This is more than just a weird anecdote. So today, our mission is to dig into what these sources actually tell us. What did the astronauts hear? What are the scientific theories? And maybe most importantly, why did NASA hold back that full audio?
Yeah, our goal is to really peel back the layers here and try to understand why all the accepted explanations seem to fall just a little bit short of what the crew actually described.
Okay, let's unpack that. For anyone who might not be familiar, why is a signal from the far side so impossible? Can you explain the physics of this radio blackout?
You really have to visualize the scale of it. When that Apollo command module swings around to the far side of the moon, you have the entire lunar body that's, over 2,000 miles of solid rock sitting directly between the spacecraft and Earth.
A colossal electromagnetic shield.
It's a perfect shield.
Huh.
The density of the moon just completely absorbs or deflects any radio waves from Earth. All of them. Telemetry, communication, everything.
So it's known as the radio blackout zone. Absolute silence.
It's the definition of silence. It's the moment the astronauts are truly, utterly isolated.
So just hearing anything in that zone is already a huge anomaly. But the sources, they really emphasize this wasn't just, random static.
And that is the absolute core of the mystery. I mean, if it had been a simple hiss or a crackle, it could have been dismissed.
Right, equipment malfunction.
But the accounts say this signal behaved like organized sound. It was rhythmic, intentional, specifically electronic, like structured sound in a total vacuum.
Which implies that something, somewhere, was generating a deliberate pattern.
Or that some physical process we just don't understand was creating these incredibly regular wave patterns. Either way, it completely defied what was expected in that environment.
And this is where it gets really, unsettling. We have the declassified logs, the actual transcripts of the astronauts' reactions in real time. What were they hearing? What were they saying to each other?
The description of the sound itself is what's so striking. It's incredibly consistent. A whistling, musical, electronic signal. It just didn't have that chaotic feel of deep space static. It sounded, for lack of a better word, artificial.
High-pitched, changing notes almost.
Yes, it was shifting in pitch and volume, almost like notes in a scale.
And the transcripts, they reveal this other layer, a psychological one. The crew was incredibly cautious.
Oh, of course. That's the human element here. You can see it in the logs. They're practically whispering to each other about what it would mean to report this.
They were worried, right, that they'd be grounded.
They feared that admitting they heard outer space music would get them labeled as psychologically unstable. I mean, can you imagine? Your entire career, your reputation depends on you not recording something you are clearly audibly hearing.
It's an incredible amount of pressure. And we have those quotes that just put you right there in the cabin with them.
Mm-hmm.
One astronaut just blurts it out. It sounds like outer space type music.
And the response is so measured, but you can feel the weight of it. The other astronaut just says, "It's strange, isn't it?" They knew, right then and there, that Mission Control would have no explanation for this.
So the event happens, it's on tape, the crew comes home, the official transcripts are released, and they confirm this strange sound happened.
Oh.
But then we hit a wall.
We hit a wall of secrecy.
Right.
The transcripts acknowledge it, but the full high-fidelity audio recording, it was basically suppressed.
Okay, let's pause here, because this is where the whole cover-up narrative starts. I mean, couldn't it just be standard procedure? NASA archives everything. Maybe it was just classified as sensitive technical data.
That's a fair question, and it's really the heart of the whole thing. If NASA thought it was just, say, interference between the command module and the lunar module's radios...
A simple technical glitch.
A simple glitch. They could have just released the audio with the technical memo and put the whole thing to bed. It would have been over.
But they didn't.
They didn't. By admitting the sound existed in the text, they confirmed the event. But by sitting on the actual audio for decades, they created this information vacuum. And that just fuels the suspicion that the audio contains something more structure, maybe more regularity than the simple text description let on.
So their silence is what makes it so suspicious.
Exactly, and that brings us to the next phase. We have to ask the question, were there any natural phenomena that could possibly, plausibly account for a sound like this?
Right. Scientists always looked for the simplest explanation first. And the main theory that came out was something called plasma resonance.
So this theory basically looks at the moon's wake. As the moon clouds through the solar wind, it creates this kind of magnetic tail behind it, a magnetotail.
And the idea is that charged particles in this tail could be interacting with the spacecraft's antennas.
That's the proposed mechanism. The interaction causes a kind of electromagnetic resonance, and the ship's sensitive equipment picks it up as an audio frequency.
But there's a problem with that theory, isn't there?
A big one. Plasma noise, when you convert it into sound, is typically just chaotic. It's a random hiss, sputtering. It's highly, highly disorganized.
But the astronauts heard music, whistling. That's the counterpoint, the structure.
That's the massive hurdle for this theory. Even scientists who support it have to admit that the sound patterns were, and this is a quote, too structured, too rhythmic, too intentional to be simple plasma noise.
And what about the idea that it was the spacecraft itself? Could its own equipment somehow be filtering that noise into something that sounded musical?
That's a good point. And later on, engineers did have to isolate radio equipment to test for that kind of feedback. But even in the initial analysis, the music was consistent across multiple channels and over a period of time, which really suggested an external source, not just some internal feedback loop.
Okay, so the plasma theory is shaky. What's scientific explanation number 2?
Solar storm interference.
Right. The idea here is that a big solar storm blasts the moon with particles, and they interact with the antennas. It happens on Earth, so it makes sense.
It's an appealing theory because it points to a known external cosmic event.
But again, the facts get in the way.
Yeah, the timing just doesn't work. Our sources are pretty clear that there were no major solar storms recorded at the time of the incident. You can't really blame a storm that wasn't actually happening.
And there's more, right? The movement of the ship itself.
Mm-hmm. If the interference was coming from a specific direction, then rotating the spacecraft should have changed the signal. It should have faded or cut out completely.
But it didn't.
It continued with remarkable stability no matter how the craft was oriented, which suggests the source was either coming from all directions at once or, more provocatively, it was localized, broadcasting from somewhere nearby on the far side.
So let's recap. We have 2 main scientific theories, plasma resonance and solar storms, and both of them really struggle to explain the actual evidence.
Right. When the known documented physics doesn't quite fit, you're left with 2 very profound, if speculative, possibilities.
Okay, let's get into them. Theory A is the blockbuster movie version. The signal was artificial.
It is. This line of thinking suggests the source could be an active beacon, a transmission, maybe even some ancient remnants still functioning on the far side, a place that's permanently hidden from any observation from Earth.
It's a compelling idea. But what's theory B? This one feels even bigger, in a way.
Theory B suggests the sound could be evidence of, well, physics we still don't understand. It forces us to ask if there's some unknown interaction happening out there between the vacuum, the moon's mass, the spacecraft's metal shell, something that organizes raw energy into complex, regular patterns.
So not aliens, but a fundamental law of physics behaving in a way we've never seen before. That's a huge implication for any future missions.
It's a massive shift in thinking. We assume the universe plays by the rules we've written down, but the extreme environment on the far side of the moon might just be a place where new rules apply. And that in itself is a discovery just as significant as finding an alien beacon.
Okay, so let's try to bring this all together. We started with this paradox, an impossible signal in a zone of absolute silence. We saw the very real fear and caution from the astronauts who heard it.
And we've walked through why the conventional science, the plasma, the solar storms, it just struggles to fully explain that structured rhythmic sound that they described.
So what does it all mean then? I mean, the ultimate truth, whether it was natural or intentional, it feels like it's still locked away in a NASA archive somewhere.
It does. But the fact that this music was heard exactly where nothing should have been heard at all, that validates the mystery.
And that leaves us with that final provocative thought for you to consider. Was this some kind of natural cosmic song, a rare glimpse of physics we don't yet understand? Or was it intelligence, broadcasting from the moon's hidden side? Something to think about the next time you look up at that silent moon in the sky.